Good morning, sunshine. It's January 13th. It's Tuesday, and I hope you all are feeling wonderful. Thanks for joining me with our Bible study today. Hope everyone's feeling good, ready, and hungry for knowledge. Today, we'll get the sections out of the way so you can bookmark them. Today, we're going to do Genesis 28:1 through 29:35. Genesis 28:1 through 29:35. We're going to do Matthew 9:18 through 38. Matthew 9:18 through 38. Our psalm will be 11:1 through 7. And our Proverbs is 3:11 through 12. Proverbs 3:11 through 12. Psalm 11:1 through 7. Okay, while you're bookmarking those, I thought I'd talk a little bit about some of the things we discussed yesterday, and I kind of went online and asked around and did some research. So we found it very interesting that Isaac and Rebekah favored their children from birth. And the way that the book describes it is the very beginning of the section says that that the children that Isaac and Rebekah have will be challenging. Now, I wanted to know why parents, or why these parents, I want to know why they would favor a child. So Rebekah had twins. She was barren. God granted them the gift of these babies. And I'm trying to understand from a mother's perspective how she can give birth to children. And from the beginning, already favor one over the other. And the father favored the other over the one. My further research states that Isaac says that he prefers Esau because of his appetite for meat. And Esau is this manly man hunter, beast killer, kind of rugged guy. Whereas Jacob was raised by his mom and is more domesticated, more sensitive. And everything I'm saying says the Bible doesn't really say why she favors him, why Rebekah favors Jacob. But the most we get is that Isaac liked Esau for the meat, for the to feed his appetite. I think some Bibles reference it as giving him venison, and he enjoyed that. My thing is the beginning of the section, they favored the children from the beginning, before they offered them, assistance in their daily lives and bringing them fancy meat. So I don't feel like I have resolve on that issue. But that's okay. We're only so far into the Bible. We have yet to hear many, many other stories, right? So, okay, let's go ahead and get started with Genesis 28:1. So Isaac called for Jacob and blessed him and commanded him, "Do not marry a Canaanite woman. Go at once to Padan Aram, to the house of your mother's father, Bethuel. Take a wife for yourself there, from among the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. May God Almighty bless you and make you fruitful and increase your numbers until you become a community of peoples. May He give you and your descendants the blessing given to Abraham, so that you may take possession of the land where you now live as an alien, the land God gave to Abraham." Then Isaac sent Jacob on his way, and he went to Padan Aram, to Laban son of Bethuel, the Aramean, the brother of Rebekah, who was the mother of Jacob and Esau. So this is his cousin. Now Esau learned that Isaac had blessed Jacob and had sent him to Padan Aram to take a wife from there, and that when he blessed him, he commanded him, "Do not marry a Canaanite woman, and that Jacob had obeyed his father and mother and had gone to Padam Aram. Esau then realized how displeasing the Canaanite women were to his father Isaac, so he went to Ishmael and married Mahalath, the sister of Nebaioth, and daughter of Ishmael, son of Abraham, in addition to the wives he already had. Jacob left Beersheba and set out for Haran. When he reached a certain place, he stopped for the night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones there, he put it under his head and lay down to sleep. He had a dream in which he saw a stairway resting on the earth, with its top reaching to heaven, and the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. There above it stood the Lord, and he said, I am the Lord, the God of your father Abraham, and the God of Isaac. I will give you and your descendants the land on which you are lying. Your descendants will be like the dust of the earth, and you will spread out to the west and to the east, to the north and to the south. All peoples on earth will be blessed through you and your offspring. I am with you, and you will watch over wherever you go, and I will bring you back to this land. I will not leave until you have done what I have promised you. Okay, so here's another thing I'm confused about. So Jacob's mom pulled a little switcheroo and was able to have Jacob steal Esau's blessing from his father Isaac, right? And Isaac's been blessed through the lineage to be able to pass the blessing on. Pardon me. So then, is what she did considered just and righteous? Because Jacob ends up being blessed and does well? Because what I don't understand is, if she was so sneaky to do that, why is the Lord still blessing Jacob instead of seeing what happened and saying, well, Isaac wanted to bless his other son Esau, and Rebekah and Jacob plotted so that Jacob stole that blessing, and now he's going on and he's building this closer relationship with God, and I don't understand. It doesn't feel just, you know what I mean? Nobody's going to write a story and that's going to be how it goes. So when I'm thinking about it in the Bible terms, they say that God punishes, those that do wrong. This just feels like life where you see people who are making bad choices, but they're succeeding, right? It just still feels like it feels wrong. So I don't know. I don't know. We'll continue on with the story of Jacob's ladder and see where it goes. When Jacob awoke from his sleep, he thought, surely the Lord is in this place, and I was not aware of it. He was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God. This is the gate of heaven. Don't you think Esau should be experiencing this? Early the next morning, Jacob took the stone he had placed under his head and set it up as a pillar and poured oil on top of it. He called that place Bethel, though the city used to be called Luz. Then Jacob made a vow, saying, if God will be with me and will watch over me on this journey I am taking, and will give me food to eat and clothes to wear, so that I return safely to my father's house, then the Lord will be my God, and the stone that I have set up as a pillar will be God's house. And of all that you give me, I will give you a tenth. So maybe Jacob is the chosen one from God. Maybe it was all supposed to go this way, but then why not figure it out from the beginning? Why all the hurt and dividing the children? I'm still very confused by this, can you tell? Then Jacob continued on his journey and came to the land of the eastern peoples. There he saw a well in the field, with 3 flocks of sheep lying near it, because the flocks were watered from that well. The stone over the mouth of the well was large. When all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll the stone away from the well's mouth and water the sheep. Then they would return the stone to its place over the mouth of the well. Jacob asked the shepherds, "My brothers, where are you from?" "We are from Haran," they replied. He said to them, "Do you know Laban, Nahor's grandson?" "Yes, we know him," they answered. Then Jacob asked him, "Is he well?" "Yes, he is," they said. "And here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep." "Look," he said, "the sun is still high. It is not time for the flocks to be gathered. Water the sheep and take them back to the pasture." "We can't," they replied, "until all the flocks are gathered and the stone has been rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep." While he was still talking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. When Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and Laban's sheep, he went over and rolled the stone away from the mouth of the well and watered his uncle's sheep. Then Laban kissed Rachel and began to weep aloud. He had told Rachel that he was a relative of her father and a son of Rebekah, so she ran and told her father. As soon as Laban heard the news about Jacob, his sister's son, he hurried to meet him. He embraced him and kissed him and brought him to his home, and there Jacob told him all these things. Then Laban said to him, "You are my own flesh and blood." After Jacob had stayed with him for a whole month, Laban said to him, "Just because you are a relative of mine, should you work for me for nothing? Tell me what your wages should be." Now Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the older was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah had weak eyes, but Rachel was lovely in form and beautiful. Jacob was in love with Rachel and said, I'll work for you 7 years in return for your younger daughter Rachel." Laban said, "It's better that I give you to her than to some other man. Stay here with me." So Jacob served 7 years to get Rachel, but they seemed like only a few days to him because of his love for her. Aww. Then Jacob said to Laban, "Give me my wife. My time is completed, and I want to lie with her." Well, that's very direct. So Laban brought together all the people of the place and gave a feast. But when evening came, he took his daughter Leah and gave her to Jacob. Okay, this is great. But when evening came, he took his daughter to Leah and gave her to Jacob, and Jacob lay with her. And Laban gave his servant girl Zilpah to his daughter as her maidservant. When morning came, there was Leah. So Jacob said to Laban, "What is this you have done to me? I served you for Rachel, didn't I? Why have you deceived me?" Okay. Laban replied, "It is not our custom here to give the younger daughter in marriage before the older one. Finish this daughter's bridal week, then we will give you the younger one also in return for another 7 years of work." Wow. Okay, so here we go. We got payback, right? For switching the blessing with his brother Esau. And Jacob did so. He finished the week with Leah, and then Laban gave him his daughter Rachel to be his wife. Laban gave his servant girl... What? I thought he had to do another 7 years. Oh, so he says, okay, finish out with Leah for a week, and then we'll give you the second daughter, but you still have to stay for 7 more years. Okay. When the Lord saw that Leah was not loved, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. Oh my gosh, we're doing this barren thing again, so now he's using it as a form of punishment. When the Lord saw that Leah was not loved, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. Drama. Leah became pregnant and gave birth to a son. She named him Reuben, for she said, "It is because the Lord has seen my misery. Surely my husband will love me now." Okay, so here we go. First evidence of a woman thinking that a baby's going to make a man love her. Oh, we know this isn't going to go good, right? She conceived again, and when she gave birth to a son, she said, "Because the Lord heard that I am not loved, he gave me this one too." So she named him Simeon. Again she conceived, and when she gave birth to a son, she said, "Now at last my husband will become attached to me, because I have borne him 3 sons." So he was named Levi. You know, we see this play out in modern day life still. Oh my gosh, she conceived again. And when she gave birth to a son, she said, "This time I will praise the Lord." So she named him Judah. And she stopped having children. So the last child that she has, she praises the Lord finally. So she just keeps having kids until she learns that she needs to praise the Lord. Man, her husband Jacob is not very nice. I don't know. Okay, that completes the end of it, but, you know, parents really screw up their kids. They really do, and they really have the power of building up wonderful people or building very traumatized people. You know, and I know it's our traumas that build us, and it's not the circumstances that decide who we are. It's how we handle them, and I'm not happy with how people are handling their choices. Right? And yeah, God has his way of working things out, but like, I have to tell you, it was pretty funny that Jacob was deceived and ended up sleeping with Leah. But I'll tell you what, I just can't imagine living in times where you're deceived by that you don't know who you're sleeping with. Now, granted, they didn't have electricity, and, you know, the place wasn't lit up with light bulbs. But, I mean, how do you not know who you're sleeping with? Goodness. I'm still caught up about the parents treating their children differently. You know, and what's that going to do for the next generation? The next generation, look, he's over here having multiple babies with a woman he doesn't even love. I mean, what do you think that's doing to Rachel? All right. Let's move on over to Matthew 9:18 through 38. I see I have somebody on here, but I can't tell who it is. I don't know why. Sometimes I can see, sometimes I can't. Oops, sorry if I disappeared on you. But hi, thanks for being here. Good morning. All right, are we ready? Matthew 9:18 through 38. While Jesus, was saying this, a ruler came and knelt before him and said, "My daughter has just died, but come, put your hand on her, and she will live." Jesus got up and went with him, and so did his disciples. Just then a woman who had been subject to bleeding for 12 years came up behind him and touched the edge of his cloak. She said to herself, If I only touch his cloak, I will be healed." Jesus turned and saw her. "Take heart, daughter," he said, "your faith has healed you." And the woman was healed from that moment. The woman was bleeding for 12 years? I'm still caught up on that one. I mean, is this like a female bleeding, or is this like an injury wound? How do you bleed for 12 years? But her faith healed her. When Jesus entered the ruler's house and saw the flute players and the noisy crowd, he said, "Go away. The girl is not dead, but asleep." But they laughed at him. After the crowd had been put outside, he went in and took the girl by the hand, and she got up. News of this spread through all the region. So he healed one woman who touched his cloak by her faith, who had been bleeding for 12 years while carrying this dead girl. And when he entered the ruler's house, he was able to bring her back to life. And news spread through all the region. As Jesus went on from there, 2 blind men followed him, calling out, "Have mercy on us, Son of David." So now he's drawing attention, and everyone's like, I want a piece of that. I want to get healed. When he got indoors, the blind men came to him, and he asked them, "Do you believe that I am able to do this?" "Yes, Lord," they replied. Then he touched their eyes and said, "According to your faith, it will be done to you." And their sight was restored. Jesus warned them sternly, "See that no one knows about this." But they went out and spread the news about him all over that region. Now, why would he tell them not to tell people? You know that when somebody experiences a miracle, they want to shout it from the rooftops. Not to mention, by doing this, it spreads word of Jesus' strength and power, and I think would reiterate the faith. But Jesus tells them, don't tell people. But he does anyway, because that's human nature, right? While they were going out, a man who was demon-possessed and could not talk was brought to Jesus. And when the demon was driven out, the man who had been mute spoke. The crowd was amazed and said, "Nothing like this has ever been seen in Israel." But the Pharisees said, "It is by the prince of demons that he drives out demons." Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness. Going back up a line to 34, but the Pharisees said, "It is by the prince of demons that he drives out the demons." So I'm imagining, now I study Egyptian history and creation stories and such, and I'm imagining by this line, but the Pharisees seen, it is by the prince of demons that he drives out the demons. I'm wondering if they're considering that this monotheistic culture compared to theirs, where they have multiple gods for all sorts of things, and then having the history of the one pharaoh who pretty much took out all the gods and said that we have one ruler, Aten, and he ruled for a short period of time relative to the other pharaohs, but then they restored their gods back. But I'm wondering if they're reflecting on that time and going, what is up with this monotheistic culture? This man that's going around casting demons out, the only way to fight evil is with evil, right? So from their perspective of things, I'm sure they looked at Jesus as a very dangerous person, right? He's going around teaching people to trust him, but the people that already have their own religion see him as nothing but a threat. Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, preaching the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field." Then he said to his disciples, Jesus says this to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field." Okay, so he's asking the Lord to give us harvest field workers. And we'll take it back to yesterday's statement where God was telling us that we have to give up our, our first crops, which translates to the best of the crops. And I was hung up on, well, how do we sacrifice this to God? Everything that we talk about sacrificing so far is burning. And that sounds ridiculous. Why would you burn your best crops? Why would you burn crops, period? You have people to feed, right? And even if everybody's fed, you still need to have something in supply. So I was really caught up on what are we doing with, how are we giving these to God, right? And my aunt and Lynette and Patricia both suggested that meant, giving those up to the less fortunate, donating them out. And while that would make a lot more sense, I couldn't find it actually spoken that way. But the more research I did, I realized it wasn't to give to God, it was to give for God's use. And that extra word really makes a difference, because now we can insert it into, giving to the less fortunate, or, maybe sharing among the whole community. I don't know. But I was really caught up and worried as a gardener here, like, why are we wasting things? So now I understand that a little bit more. I hope if you have questions on things that you take the time to go online and look around, look for different options, different ideas, not just one, and do what you need to do to find the answers you're looking for. That's all that I'm doing, is reading these every day to just find the answers that I'm looking for. So, and not everything I'm questioning you're going to care about, and you're going to probably have questions that I'm not even bringing up. So I just want to encourage you to find the answers that you seek. Okay, let's finish up with Psalm 11, 1 through 7. Psalm 11, 1 through 7. For the director of music of David. In the Lord I take refuge. How then can you say to me, flee like a bird to your mountain? For look, the wicked bend their bows. They set their arrows against the strings, to shoot from the shadows at the upright in the heart. When the foundations are being destroyed, what can the righteous do? The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord is on his heavenly throne. He observes the Son of Men. His eyes examine them. The Lord examines the righteous, but the wicked and those who love violence, his soul hates. On the wicked he will rain, fiery coals and burning sulfur. A scorching wind will be their lot. For the Lord is righteous, he loves justice. Upright men will see his face. Okay, so this is another little psalm letting us know that God prefers, the righteous. He doesn't love the wicked. He says there's justice for those that are righteous, and that those that live this way will end up seeing, upright men will see his face. So, make good choices, folks. That's what I tell my kids every day before they get on the bus. Make good choices. I love you. Proverbs 3:11 through 12. Proverbs 3:11 through 12. This is another short little proverb. My son, do not despise the Lord's discipline, and do not resent his rebuke, because the Lord disciplines those he loves, as a father the son he delights in. Well, amen to that. Do not despise the Lord's discipline, and do not resent his rebuke, because the Lord disciplines those he loves, as father the son he delights in. I really appreciate that it says the word discipline rather than punish. So let's replace discipline with punish and reread this. My son, do not despise the Lord's punishment, and do not resent his rebuke, because the Lord punishes those he loves, as a father the son he delights in. And the reason I'm saying punish is because how many times have we gone through trials and been like, Lord, why are you punishing me? Why? What did I do to deserve this? We've been at our lowest of our low. What did I do to deserve this? It's not a punishment. It might be a sucky situation, but it's not a punishment. It's discipline. And if I've learned anything, it was from Mr. Gary Coble, my band director in middle school. He had a big banner across our giant band room, and it said, "The ultimate discipline is self-discipline." And the Lord, he thrives on discipline. If you're disciplined enough to be righteous and make good choices, he just might save you before he annihilates the entire world, like Noah. Ultimate discipline is self-discipline. Okay, folks, hope you had a great reading with me this morning. I think we had some good discussions. I hope you have a wonderful Tuesday. I shall see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.